The calculated sacrifice Ambassador David Chen had stood in the Galactic Council chamber for 3 hours, and his legs were beginning to ache. The counselors didn't seem to notice or care. Time meant different things to species that measured their lives in centuries rather than decades. Ambassador, Counselor Thresikon finally spoke, his crystalline voice echoing through the vaulted chamber. The mathematics are quite simple. The Vraxis Empire has made their position clear. Kepler Station sits in disputed territory. Your people must evacuate within 72 of your hours, or the Vraxis will destroy the station with all inhabitants aboard. Chen felt his jaw tighten. Counselor, there are 40,000 human civilians on that station. Families. Children. We don't have the transport capacity to evacuate that many people in 3 days. You know this. The Council knows this. Then perhaps Counselor Mirazeth interjected, her 6 eyes blinking in what Chen had learned to recognize as dismissal. Humanity should not have established a colony in contested space. We've been on Kepler for 15 years. Chen's voice rose despite his training. The Council acknowledged our claim. We followed every protocol. The situation has changed, Thresikon cut him off. The Vraxis Empire is threatening war. Not with humanity, with the entire consortium. They demand Kepler Station as proof of our commitment to the peace treaty. We have larger concerns than one human outpost. Chen looked around the chamber at the assembled representatives of 43 species. Not one met his eyes. So that's it? You're asking us to abandon 40,000 people to death because it's politically convenient? We are asking nothing, Mirazeth said coldly. We are informing you of reality. The Vraxis will destroy that station in 72 hours regardless of what we do. The only question is whether you make a futile gesture that accomplishes nothing, or accept the mathematics of survival. Mathematics of survival, Chen repeated slowly. Is that what we're calling murder now? Thresikon's crystalline form shifted, refracting light in patterns Chen couldn't read. The universe is not fair, Ambassador. The strong make demands. The weak comply. This is the order of things. Humanity is young. Perhaps you do not yet understand how survival works on the galactic scale. Chen stood silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was perfectly calm. How many ships can the Council provide for evacuation support? None, Mirazeth said. To do so would be seen as taking sides against the Vraxis. We cannot risk that. I see. Chen bowed formally, the gesture sharp and precise. Then humanity thanks the Galactic Council for its clarity. We now understand exactly where we stand. Something in his tone made Thresikon lean forward. Ambassador? But Chen was already walking toward the exit, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence of the chamber. The next 72 hours were a nightmare of mathematics and impossible choices. Earth sent every available transport ship, but the numbers didn't lie. At maximum capacity, running constant shuttles from Kepler to the rescue fleet, they could evacuate maybe 20,000 people. Captain Sarah Morrison, station commander, sent the children first. Then the elderly, then anyone with critical skills humanity couldn't afford to lose. The lottery for the remaining seats was conducted by computer because no human could bear the weight of choosing who lived and who died. Chen watched the rescue operation from Earth's orbital command, seeing the feeds from Kepler Station, families saying goodbye, parents putting children on shuttles, knowing they'd never see them again. The calm professionalism of the station crew, maintaining order even as their own death sentence ticked down. At hour 71, with 15,000 people still on the station, the Vraxis fleet appeared on long-range sensors. Captain Morrison made the call to stop the evacuation. The shuttles were ordered to break off, to save the 19,000 already rescued rather than risk losing the transport ships themselves. Chen would never forget her final transmission. Standing on Kepler's command deck, surrounded by the people she couldn't save, Morrison looked directly into the camera. Tell Earth, she said quietly, that we didn't break. Tell them we kept order. Tell them that when the end came, humanity faced it standing up. She paused, then added something that would echo through human space for generations. And tell them to remember. The Vraxis bombardment lasted 4 minutes. 15,000 souls erased in fire and vacuum. Earth's response came within an hour. No declaration of war, no speech about justice or vengeance. Instead, every human ambassador was recalled simultaneously. Every human ship in alien space received the same order. Return to human territory immediately. Within a week, humanity sealed its borders. The Galactic Council sent delegations. Humanity refused them at the border. They sent messages of condolence. Humanity didn't respond. They offered trade agreements, technology exchanges, peace talks, silence. Months passed. Human space became a black hole in the galactic community. Ships that approached the borders were turned away by automated defense systems. No human vessels emerged. No communications went out. It was Counselor Threscon who first voiced what others were thinking. What are they doing in there? But there was no answer. Humanity had withdrawn into itself and the silence was absolute. In his chamber on Earth, Ambassador Chen stood at his window, looking up at stars that suddenly seemed much colder. Around him, on every human world, the same decision was being made without words, without debate. The Galactic Consortium had shown humanity exactly what it thought of them, had demonstrated with perfect clarity what human lives were, worth in the great calculation of galactic politics. Now humanity would teach the galaxy a different kind of mathematics, the mathematics of consequence. When silence ends. The black ships appeared without warning on a Tuesday morning, Galactic Standard Time. Not at one border point, but at 47 simultaneously. Every major trade route, every council world, every strategic choke point in consortium space. They simply materialized, as if the fabric of space had torn open and birthed them fully formed. Counselor Threscon received the alert in his meditation chamber. The initial reports made no sense. Ships with no visible propulsion, hulls that absorbed scanner beams instead of reflecting them, energy signatures that his analysts described as theoretically impossible. How many? He asked his aide. We're still counting. At least 300 capital ships, possibly twice that. They're difficult to track, Counselor. They seem to phase in and out of our sensor nets. Threscon felt something he hadn't experienced in his 4-century lifespan. Genuine fear. Have they fired? No, Counselor. They're just waiting. Waiting for what? The answer came an hour later. Broadcast simultaneously across every consortium communication channel, civilian and military alike. The face that appeared was unfamiliar. Not Ambassador Chen, but a woman with iron-gray hair and eyes that looked carved from stone. This is Admiral Rebecca Zhao, speaking on behalf of the United Human Worlds. We have returned to consortium space on a diplomatic mission. The Galactic Council is invited to meet us at the following coordinates in neutral space. You have 12 hours to attend. If the Council chooses not to meet, we will consider diplomacy exhausted and proceed accordingly. The transmission ended. No threats, no demands. Just a cold statement of fact that somehow felt more terrifying than any battle cry. The Council assembled an emergency session aboard the neutral station Harmonix, a massive diplomatic platform that had hosted peace talks for 3 centuries. Every counselor attended. Even the Vraxis Empire sent a delegation. Though they arrived in a heavily armed convoy, Admiral Zhao came alone. She walked into the council chamber, wearing a simple black uniform with no decorations, except a small pin over her, art, a silver representation of Kepler Station. Her footsteps echoed in the silence as she took her position at the center of the chamber. Thank you for attending, she said, her voice carrying easily in the space designed for alien acoustics. I will be brief. Humanity has a proposal. Counselor Myra Seth's translator crackled. Admiral, the Council wishes to express regret for the Kepler incident. Perhaps we can discuss reparations. The Kepler massacre, Zhao corrected, her tone not changing at all. Words matter, Counselor. 40,000 dead isn't an incident. It's a massacre that you permitted. We had no choice, Threscon began. Everyone has choices, Zhao interrupted. You chose the Vraxis Empire over human lives. That was your calculation. You chose expediency over justice. You chose politics over principle. These were choices. Own them. A Vraxis delegate rose, his chitinous armor clattering. You dare lecture the Council? Your species is barely 2 centuries into space travel. You know nothing of the complexities. Show them, Zhao said quietly to the empty air. Outside Harmonix Station, the Black Fleet moved. 3 human ships accelerated toward the Vraxis convoy at speeds that made consortium sensors scream alerts. But they didn't fire weapons. Instead, something else happened. something that would be analyzed and debated by scientists for years afterward. The Vraxis ships simply stopped. Every system simultaneously shut down. Weapons, engines, life support all went dark. The ships hung in space like dead insects, their crews trapped in emergency containment fields that their own ships had automatically activated. "They're alive," Zhao said calmly, watching the council chamber erupt in chaos. "Uncomfortable but alive. We shut down their ships from here. No weapons fired. No physical contact. We simply asked their computer systems to stop. And they did." She let that sink in for a moment before continuing. "For the past 6 months, while you wondered what humanity was doing in our silence, we were making a decision. You taught us that in this galaxy, power is the only currency that matters. The strong make demands. The weak comply. Your words, Counselor Threskin. We decided to stop being weak. This is an act of war." Miraseth shrieked. "No," Zhao said. "This is a demonstration. An act of war would look very different." She pulled up a holographic display that showed a star map. "We've mapped every military installation, every defense network, every strategic asset in consortium space. We can disable all of them simultaneously. We won't, but we can. And now you know we can." Threscon's crystalline form had gone dull, the equivalent of going pale. "How? We've seen your technology. You were barely capable of faster-than-light travel. This is centuries beyond." "We lied," Zhao said simply. "For 200 years, humanity has maintained 2 technology tracks. One we showed you, adequate, unremarkable, unthreatening. One we kept hidden, because we're not stupid, Counselor. We learned our history. We know what happens to species that show their full strength before they're ready to defend it." She walked slowly around the chamber, making eye contact with each delegate. "We came to the stars hoping for something better than what we left on Earth. We wanted to believe that intelligence meant wisdom, that a galactic civilization would have evolved beyond petty cruelty and expedient murder. Kepler Station taught us differently." "What do you want?" Threscon asked quietly. "Structural reform," Zhao said. "Not revenge, that would be easy. We want change. The Galactic Consortium will adopt a new charter, one that includes binding protections for all member species. Real protections with enforcement mechanisms. No more calculations that sacrifice populations for political convenience. No more strong species making demands while weak species comply. And if we refuse?" the Vraxis delegate managed to ask. Zhao's expression didn't change. "Then we'll enforce the reforms ourselves. We're offering you the dignity of choosing. But these changes will happen. The only question is whether you participate in building the new system, or watch us build it around you." She tapped her wrist display, and the Vraxis ships outside suddenly came back online. "That's a gesture of good faith. We could have left them dark. Remember that." Zhao turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing. Humanity is establishing a new position within the reformed council structure. We're calling it the Remembrance Seat. Its sole function is to veto any decision that requires the sacrifice of civilian populations for political expediency. We'll hold that seat in perpetuity." "And who gave you the authority to restructure galactic governance?" Miraseth demanded. Zhao smiled, and it was the coldest expression Threskin had ever seen on a human face. "You did, when you taught us that power is the only authority that matters. We were good students, counselors. We learned your lesson perfectly." 3 months later, the new consortium charter was ratified. The vote was unanimous. In Earth's orbital command, Ambassador Chen stood beside Admiral Zhao, watching the ceremony broadcast from Harmonic Station. "Did we go too far?" Chen asked quietly. Zhao was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of 15,000 names she recited every morning. "They gave us 2 choices," she said. "Accept that we're expendable or prove we're not. They chose which lesson to teach us." She turned to face Chen. "We just showed them we were excellent students." Morrison's last words were "remember," Chen said. "I wonder if this is what she meant." "She meant remember what they did," Zhao replied. "But also remember what we learned. That mercy is a luxury only the strong can afford. That peace requires the capacity for war. That if you want to change the rules, you need the power to rewrite them." On the view screen, Counselor Threscon was reading the new charter, his voice steady despite the humiliation of reading words humans had written. "Do you think they'll ever forgive us?" Chen asked. Zhao's smile was sharp. "I don't want their forgiveness. I want their fear. Because fear breeds caution. And caution might just keep another 40,000 people alive the next time someone decides to do the political mathematics. She touched the pin over her heart. The silver Kepler station, eternal and unchanging. We showed them mercy, she said quietly. We could have burned their worlds. Instead, we just took away their ability to burn ours. If they think that's going too far, they should have considered that before they taught us the rules. Outside, the Black Fleet maintained its positions at every border, every trade route, every strategic point, not occupying, not threatening, simply present, a constant reminder that humanity was no longer asking for a seat at the, table. They'd built their own table, and everyone was invited to sit as long as they remembered the price of forgetting what happened at Kepler Station.